Welcome to today's conversation on the topic I believe resonates well with each and every one of us. Beyond beauty, beyond love, can your relationship still stand? As we navigate the complexities of love and relationships, it's easy to get caught up in the romance and the excitement of the early days. But what happens when the initial spark fades and reality sets in? Join us today as we explore the essential elements that goes beyond beauty and love, goes beyond physical attraction, and is very crucial for building a lasting relationship. I'm Oluwaseyi Ajimuda, and this is Emmy's vlog, where we speak on faith, lifestyle, and relationship. For today's conversation, I'm joined with incredible couples that will be sharing their experiences and their journey on this topic: beyond beauty, beyond love, can your relationship still stand? We have the pleasure and the honor to welcome on board with me Peter and Bukola Olayioye. Thank you for being on today's show. I'm really grateful, and the whole team of Emmy's vlog is grateful to have you with us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So the introductory part, I would like to ask, what are your initial thoughts on the concepts beyond beauty, beyond love? Can your relationship still stand? What can you say to that topic, Bukola?
Okay, good evening everyone once again. Beyond beauty, beyond love, can your relationship still stand? The first answer I will give is a yes. And why will I say that? So many a times people focus a lot on physical things when you're considering relationship. But I tell you that it's beyond that. Yet it's good for you to consider physical things. Oh, I want someone who is tall, dark, and handsome. But trust me, those things can fade. And in the moment when they fade, one thing that would keep you going would be something that is beyond physical. I was gisting with someone recently, and I was telling her how I had a particular attribute I was looking for in the man I was going to marry, and that was someone who could be a priest over my home, someone who could be a priest over me and my unborn kids. And that was one thing I was looking out for when I found my husband. So beyond, oh, this person is tall, dark, and handsome, this person has $20 million in his account, I just wanted someone that I could submit to and say, this is the head of the home, this is my head, this is my priest, this is everything. So those other things to me are addition. So beyond beauty, beyond love. But one thing is also key, love is also important, because trust me, you want to be attracted to the person you're in a relationship with.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Love is very key. But even when you have love for someone, there are situations that could come that could test your love for the person.
Yeah.
So it's beyond love. And when we say love, we're not talking of the initial emotions you get, the butterflies. It's beyond that. Love is deeper than you can imagine. And thankfully, we have someone who has given us guidelines on what love is really. Check the Bible. God has given us the description of what love is. If you can have love for someone the way it is described in 1 Corinthians 13, it is enough. But trust me, many of us don't display that.
Yeah.
Love is gentle, love is kind. But the reality is, your husband is angry with you. Or your husband has done something you're not happy with, you are flaring up, you are not gentle, you are not kind, even when you are communicating your grievances. So, but if you can follow through with the love that is described in the Bible, I would say yes, it's enough. But if it's the love that we seem to be calling love, which is the initial butterfly we all get when you're in love with someone, I would say it's beyond that.
Wow, thank you very much. Over to you, Peter. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, I think there's no need stressing the topic again. I think it's just diving into what we have today. It's a question. Beyond beauty, beyond love,
can
relationships still stand? Yes, it can still stand. So it means there are some other things, there are some other elements that should be in a relationship.
Thank you.
If they are there, then your relationship
Can still stand. Well, thank you very much. I really love the introduction that you gave to this topic. So, to our viewers, it is very, very important that you have the love of Christ, and as they've said, yes, beyond beauty, beyond love, your relationship can still stand. So let's dive into the question for today. So the first question I have here is, what fundamental elements beyond physical attraction and love are essential for a lasting relationship?
Okay, yeah. So the first question here is, now, what are the elements that should be there? If you are saying beyond love, beyond beauty, can a relationship still stand? So just discussing what other things that should be in a marriage. I think when we are talking about foundation, that's the fundamental things.
Yeah.
I think number one for me is salvation. When I say salvation, I mean you giving your heart to God, because the heart of man by default is wicked. So if a life is not transformed, there's no way you can actually express the love in the right way. So I think the first foundation is salvation, because it's the salvation that will help you transform your heart. Then some elements like selflessness that is needed in marriage. You can, if you are not born again, you can't be selfless.
Actually.
A man by default, we are all selfish. But it's when we have that transformation of heart, the selflessness, that Christ-like love. Selflessness means you are putting the needs of others before you. And if that element is not in marriage, trust me, you cannot stand. So another thing I think, okay, we're talking about foundation, there's so many other things, but I'm particular about foundation. Another foundation is knowledge. Knowledge. You must continue to seek to know. Knowledge and understanding. And if you don't know, they used to say, what you don't know will be killing you. You must seek to always know. Because in marriage, it involves two persons. And in the school of marriage, you keep learning. And if you don't know your wife, or let me say your spouse, for me, of course in my case it's my wife, right? So if I don't have proper knowledge of my wife, then there will be misunderstanding.
Actually.
Right?
Yeah.
And actually, when I say knowledge, I'm also attaching it to understanding. Because the more I understand my wife, the less the misunderstanding. So knowledge is very, very key. You must keep learning about marriage. You must keep learning about your spouse. The moment you stop learning about marriage, then your marriage will keep failing. Yeah, because we go to school, we want to excel. So it is in place of knowledge, in place of understanding, we excel in our career, every other area. So the same thing in marriage. If you stop learning, it's because I know my wife, that's why I can say, okay, I want to propose. So that's a level of knowledge. But in marriage, I must know more. Number one, read. Then she is now my own case study. Yeah, every other woman. So I am reading, then I have a case study, I have a life experience. So whatever I'm learning, then I'm practicing. So there's a place of knowledge. I think, let me stop there, let me arrive.
Okay, alright. Another thing I would point out would be trust, right? Trust. You must ensure that you trust your partner. Something came to my mind recently. I was just like, if someone calls me today and say, oh, your husband did XYZ. I mean, there's some things that I won't even bother to even ask him if he did, because there's a level of trust I have in him already, and I'm like, this is what he can do, this is what he cannot do, right? Another thing will be openness and communication. You must be open to learn. you must be open to tolerate, you must be open to hear the other side. Because like you said, there are a lot of things you would get to learn in marriage. But if the openness is not there, if you are not teachable, there is no how you'll be able to excel in all of those things. Then communication is very key. Right from the very first day, he said, I want to marry you. You have to make up your mind. In my own case, now I'm using he because I'm the lady and he's a man, right? From the very first day he told me he wanted to marry me, there was an established level of communication that we have, because it's in communicating that you get to know the person.
Yeah.
It's in communication you get to know secrets.
Sure.
And communication is beyond words. We can communicate with our face. We can communicate with a lot of things beyond talking. There's a way my husband knows when I'm not happy without me having to say anything. Why? Because we communicate verbally, non-verbally. Yeah. Another thing I would also talk about is intentionality. It is very, very key. You just have to be very intentional. I know we are still going to get to that point where we will talk about it in depth. I think that should be the next question. We will talk about it very well. Intentionality is very, very key. The moment you stop being intentional about your home, your marriage, then the marriage is ready to fail. Trust me. You have to be intentional, because there will be times when your emotions, your feelings, whatever you can think of would not be there. You just remind yourself, no, this marriage, it is two of us against the world. So that intentionality comes into play in the way we address each other, in the way we do things, in the way we take care of our home, in the way we relate with one another. Let me stop there.
Oh wow, thank you very much. Like what it said, that the moment you stop reading about marriage, your marriage starts failing. And you also buttress that point when you talked about intentionality, that when you are not intentional about your spouse, when you are not intentional about your home, a lot of things begins to fail. Thank you very much for buttressing on the question. So to our next question, how can partner maintain emotional intimacy and navigate changing needs when the initial spark fades?
Yeah, this question, I
like you said, the feelings, the emotions, the butterflies, everything.
all right. So then, okay, I'll go first, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think I need to also state that as we are discussing beyond, let's also have it in mind that just like the seven should be introducing, beauty, love, those elements are key.
Yeah, sure.
What we are discussing is beyond, but that doesn't mean that we are sidelining them or we are not taking them as important. Because I was talking about knowledge.
You must be attracted.
Yeah, so I was talking about knowledge. I was talking about you learning. And when we talk about love, of course, in this sense, it's romantic love, right?
Yeah. And
the truth is, love is a language, right? Love is a language, and if I stop learning my wife's language, of love, then my marriage cannot stand. And that's a very important point to note. I'm a Yoruba person, alright? I also speak English. Imagine she communicating French to me. She is actually communicating love, but it must be the way I want it. I must understand it. If I'm speaking Spanish and she does not understand, I'm actually speaking love. Like,
by the way, what we have on our clothes is a Spanish word. Mia means mine.
So what I'm trying to stress is you must learn that language. Not any other language. You can be speaking love, the language of love, but does that person, your partner, do you get what I'm saying? So there must be that very, very clear. Love, attraction, they are very key. So to your question, how can partners maintain emotional intimacy and navigate changing needs when the initial spark fades? Let me also say this clearly, that the initial sparks most times fades because we are not intentional. It's not cast in stone. Must it have to fail That's the question. Why should it fail? But most times couples don't do what brought about the initial spark at the time they get into the marriage.
Okay.
Are you getting it? While we are dating, when we are cutting, oh, I want to see you, I want to do this, oh, we are going out on a date.
Okay, that's true.
Those are the things, those are the initial sparks, right?
Yeah.
But when you get into the marriage,
we feel that they already have the person now, so there's no need.
but I was, one of my colleagues, I was just overhearing there, and they're like, after marriage, she becomes a liability.
Oh, wow.
Imagine that kind of mindset. So definitely it will fade. But the question is, must it fade? That means if I continue to do what I did initially before we started the marriage, then it will not fade. I'm just trying to correct that.
Okay.
So I don't think it should be what we should be selling, like initial, the butterflies will fade. Yeah, marriages, they are in stages, but you can actually keep it. That initial butterfly. Okay, now.
Wow.
Intimacy. Yeah, like one of my mentors will say, intimacy is into me, see.
Okay.
Into me, like see. All right.
Okay.
So
intimacy.
yeah. So that means this is my wife. I can see into her. If I can hear what she's not saying, then I'm a great husband.
Oh, wow.
Like what she's not saying, if I can hear, that means I can read through her.
Yeah,
I can read through her.
And read in between the lines.
You get? And like she said, you know your husband. I know my wife. She knows me. There are some things she knows I cannot do. There are some things I know I can do, and based on experiences, right? I know, okay, if I act this way, this is our response. So I have studied, so I'm able to say, okay, no, this is not in our best interest. I talk about selflessness.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing anything and I have that mind of Christ, what salvation we achieve. I talk about salvation, right?
Yeah.
So if I have that selflessness, I have that heart of God that puts others first. So I'm not going to act in such a way that will be displeasing unto her. Do you get?
Yeah.
So I'm talking about intimacy, emotional intimacy. I've said that if I can see into her without talking, if I can hear the language she's speaking without her opening her mouth, then let me say I've even just started. Because because she's my wife. So how can a partner maintain? The other side is, let's assume she wants something.
Okay.
And she's expecting that, oh,
you will give her that thing.
Peter should. And she's not communicating. What do you think will happen?
There will be a disagreement.
Very good. So, I talked about me seeing into her.
Yeah.
Based on experiences, based on, okay, I acted this way, she behaved this way. Oh, next time I know what to do better, right?
Yeah.
So there's another part to say, okay, I'm talking about communication now. If you want something and you're not communicating it, and you're expecting your spouse to, I think that's the balance. I'm trying to balance it. If you communicate, the way I see communication is like a lifeline that marriage is linked on. Both verbal, both non-verbal. So if I get to know what she wants and she gets to know what I want, then there will be less misunderstanding.
Of course.
But where we usually have issues most times, there are some things she sees as major, I see as minor. Right? Like major things, and for me
it's nothing.
So now, if I want to maintain that balance, that intimacy, that closeness, I need to begin to see what she see as major, as major.
So you have to see through our own lens.
Yeah. We need to begin to see what I see as major, as major. Then with that, I think we will be able to maintain that intimacy.
Okay.
Let me stop there. Let me allow.
Okay, so another thing that helps us maintain emotional intimacy is intentionality. I'm going to talk more on that now at this point. You know, I talked about it the previous slide. See, it gets to a point in marriage that your needs changes. Trust me. Before we got married, touch was not a love language we could use.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Because sexual purity is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So it means at that point, my love language that was very evident wasn't touch, right? But on getting into the marriage proper, what happens? The love language has adjusted. So there has to be this intentionality to ensure that you don't say, oh, this is what I've been doing, I want to keep doing it. There just has to be this intentionality to say, you just need to get intention to say, oh, I want to ensure that I'm giving my best to this relationship. And trust me, even though we are talking about romantic relationship today, these principles cut across every kind of relationship you have. When you're being intentional, even at your place of work, even with friendship, when you're being intentional, you realize that the relationship will blossom.
Yeah.
He talked about majoring on what is major to him. I mean, it's a very key factor. You can't even overlook it. Because things that are as minute as, oh, send me I love you when you get to work, could be something big to someone else. So you just need to ensure that you keep that intentionality at the highest point. Another thing is being open to correction. It helps build emotional intimacy. Being open to correction, being open to adjustment, being teachable. No matter how long you cut, no matter how long you've been in a relationship before marriage, you've not known one over. I don't even 1,000 of the person. You get to know someone when you live in the same house with them.
And even in years, you still keep learning.
I mean, there are times I'm like, guy, I thought I knew you. Oh God. And it's just like, you keep discovering new parts, new things every time. So there's this point of teachability. You just have to be teachable. And being teachable cuts across a lot of points. Being teachable by your own spouse, being teachable by people you submit to. You heard him talk about a mentor. Like, I mean, there are people we submit to, there are people we learn from. You don't have to take in what they give you word for word. But there could be guidelines to how you play out your own marriage. There's this phrase, like our mentors told us while we were having our courtship, Bukola, don't suck, talk. Most times when I want to suck, it just jump at me, and it's not like I don't still suck, right? To be honest, I would just be very sincere with you, but because those words ring in my head, I just know I have to adjust. I'm like, babe, I didn't like what you did. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't see it that way. Trust me, I would never intentionally hurt you. I'm like, okay, but this is how I felt and all of that. So you just have to ensure that you keep yourself at that level where you are teachable. If not, you will find out that you just start getting drifted apart and you're living in the same roof, like under the same roof. Another thing you need to do is to intentionally date yourself. Dating is not for people who are not married. It's actually for people who are married. Yes, it's for people who are married, because when you get married and you're not dating yourself, you realize that your husband would just be like a random person. Your wife become like a random person. But when you are dating each other, you could do it every month, you could do it every week. Just do something that works for you, and you don't have to go out. We could do a movie date in the house. It could even just be seeing a movie together. It could be gisting about something about your childhood. It could be just anything. Just ensure you are dating each other. And the final thing I'll talk about is having constant reviews. So we sit down from time to time and like, okay, how have we fed for the last couple of months, sometimes couple of weeks? What did I do well? What did I not do well? We do feedback. Recently, we're even talking about how we needed to, what's the word now? Do our reviews more consistent, frequently. So I wanted to change the frequency. Basically, we used to do it at a particular frequency, but I just said that I feel like we need to change the frequency, because when you do reviews, I mean, it was at the point where we do review, we realized that, oh, this has changed, this is what it is now. So we need to adjust. Before, maybe your work was allowing you to have enough time. Now your work is a bit demanding. You don't even have time for your spouse. You need to also tweak it. If I cannot see my spouse during the week, if it's just the weekend, I need to tweak what I do, just to ensure that you are at that level where you are constantly longing for your spouse. So yeah, that's it.
Wow. The things that really stood out for me when they were talking, he said communication, and she said intimacy, and she made mention of some instances, and everything still buttressed on communication and intimacy. When you are communicating with your spouse, like the instance she gave us, when they were doing a review, and when she talked about her mentor saying them don't talk, and she had to tell him that, oh babe, I didn't like what you did to me, and he was like, I didn't know. If she did not communicate it to him, there's no way he would have known about it, and she might still carry it in her mind that he did this thing to me the other time. And if something similar is about to happen around that, what he did before, we have this human nature of always fighting back when something had happened and you don't want it to happen again. You might not want to do it, but the spark will just come and you will just fight back. So communication and intimacy is a very, very key part of relationship. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our next question. How can couples handle external pressures such as financial, societal, or familial challenges while sustaining a healthy relationship?
Okay, I will start with the financial bit. First of all, how do you handle external pressures? The first thing you need to do is have contentment when it comes to financial pressures. Because trust me, like I said at the introduction, where I said physical things are very important, because money is sweet. Love is sweet when there's money. Very sweet when there's money, and it can be otherwise when there's no money. But you need to ensure that you are not into unnecessary pressure too, while still trying to meet your financial needs. So one thing that you can do, that a couple can do when there's financial pressure, is to have a budget. Before I got married, or before I even got into a relationship, I mean, I could spend my money anyhow. But now, I'm not alone any longer. I have a husband. Likewise, he's not alone any longer. He has a wife. So what we'll do is we merge funds together and we'll put up a budget for the months. So working with our budget has helped us manage pressure very effectively. Does it mean that there are not times you would maybe shoot out of your budget? It could be unforeseen circumstances that could happen, but those times are very limited because you just work around your budget. Actually, even when you want to give charity, there should be a percentage of your income that's for charity. For black tax, there should be a percentage, such that you are not just spending unwisely, because you need money to fuel your marriage. Actually, so let's talk about the societal part. Societal part is a different ball game on its own. I mean, there are expectations of people from you once you get married. Some just feel like once you get married, the next thing is you have to produce a baby. Some even come and ask you, what are you waiting for? I mean, some would ask you questions that you wonder, like, I mean, this is personal. Why are you asking me such questions? But yeah, that is it. Not everybody is emotionally intelligent to know there are questions they shouldn't ask you.
True.
So what do you do when you're in such situation? You just need to ensure that you have a standard, have a goal, and keep at it. There's nothing anybody wants to tell me. If myself and my husband has agreed on anything, whatever situation you are saying, whatever thing you are telling me, I don't care. Trust me. Because I know that this is what we agreed to do, and we will just do it, regardless of what anybody thinks.
What else do you have to say concerning what she has just said?
Yeah, so I think the major thing she said is just as giving answers to it. On the financial part, set budgets.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Live within your means. Another thing you need to do is don't compare yourself with others.
Yes. Very important.
You are you. It's just
You're your own standard.
Yeah, so you shouldn't be under any pressure to want to be like someone else.
Actually.
As a matter of fact, people are also looking at you as standard. So just keep up that standard. And there won't be pressure. Then societal, when you have this mindset that it is myself, my wife, together against the world. So you won't be under any pressure. Do things at your own pace. Because you have a direction.
Actually.
Just for you. There can't be any other Peter and Bukola anywhere. So we have what we want to achieve. We have our values.
Actually.
So believe by it. And whatever external pressure that is coming from the society, from family, you know that
it's just both of us against the world.
I just remembered something that I would like to add. Then when it comes to family pressure, maybe my family putting pressure on him for something or vice versa. The trick is don't be the one fighting your spouse family. Let your spouse face them while you also handle your own side. It's easier that way, and you don't build unnecessary enmity for yourself. So if my in-laws should come and raise a concern, my husband will be the one to respond. If my own parents raise a concern, I will be the one to respond. So that's the way we deal with it. If at all anybody raises any concerns and we feel that they want to pressure us into doing something we are not ready for, we sort it that way. It's very key I mentioned that. Thank you.
Wow, that's very, very key actually. Like when he was talking, I remembered when my dad used to give some illustration that some people, like when your car spoil, you cannot take the spare part of a Toyota Camry for a Sienna. Spare parts is spare parts, but you cannot bring someone else's spare parts and put in your own car. Just like what he said, you cannot use other people's standard to build your relationship. You have to set your own, like you are your own standard. You have to follow your own guidelines and principles, because other people out there, they're also watching you that this family, I want to be like them. They don't know what is going on inside. They just see that outside you are all glittering and everything, and you're on your own hand, you be like, this family, I want to be like them. You don't know what is going on in their own family. So we have to always abide by this, that you are your own standard and you should walk by your own principle, walk at your own pace, and don't pressure yourself, because most times we are the ones putting the pressure on ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because we are always looking up to other people. Not that they are the ones giving us the pressure, we are the ones actually putting that pressure. And the high time we get to know that, this is not meant to be. Rather, I'm the one that is setting my own standards, the better for us. Thank you very much for that. So to our final questions, and you can see that these wonderful couples have been doing justice to our questions, and I'm sure you've been learning a whole lot from what they've been saying. So to our final question, to what extent should partners adapt or change for the sake of the relationship, and how can they maintain balance without losing themselves? So I want us to focus on how you can maintain balance without losing yourself. So we'll go first.
Okay, so I know from all we've talked about, I know you say progression where we've talked about seeing things in the light of the other person.
Yeah.
And that means that there are times when you need to change. However, there are also times when you need to adapt. There are times when you need to just tolerate. So it's encompassing. There are still some things that my husband is not going to change about, to be very honest. And I've come to terms with it to say, this is who he is. Same with me. There are some things that I don't see them changing for obvious reasons. Background, values, and quite a number of things. But there are some things that, trust me, you should change for the sake of your own. But it's very key that you don't lose yourself in the process. I personally is an extroverted person. My husband is introverted. And in the marriage, we've been able to blend it in such a way that I can say we're in the middle. So, in as much as I'm the outgoing person, I would just want to be out there. I want to just like have fun. At the same time, I'm also ensuring that I'm carrying my partner along, right? So I've been able to adjust, but even in the midst of this, I don't lose myself because, I mean, we are married, we are best of friends, but we still are friends.
Yeah.
I remembered in December, I had a ladies' night out. I was not at home, right? So even though I'm adapting to also sit at home at some point, so that I can also balance my husband's personality, but I am still very intentional about having fun my own way. Because it's very key, very, very key. And it's not just even about personality alone. Even there are some other things that you've just been doing. They are neither here or there, but they're just things that give you pleasure. There are things that make you happy. And once you review it in the lens of your partner, and the partner is fine with it, and is not negatively impacting your partner, I feel like you can pursue it. So, you know, people will say, oh, once people get married, they neglect all their friends.
Actually,
I mean, for me, it's not like that, because what I even do is to drag you to become a friend to the family. So that way, I can tell my husband, oh, XYZ is coming to the house and we are fine with it. He too can tell me, oh, my guy is coming and I'm fine with it, because being able to embrace each other's friends, each other's personalities, even though there are times where we've had to adjust to accommodate each other. So it's just very key. So what do you do so that you don't lose yourself? Just ensure that the things that make you happy, that don't negatively impact your partner, your home, you keep doing them. If reading a book makes you happy, why not? If going out to the cinema makes you happy, why not? You can decide to go with your partner. There's also the place of you tolerating your spouse. If my husband says, oh, today I want to do this is what he wants to do. My husband is not a football person per se, but at times he still sees ball, right? And I can try to, even though I was telling him, oh yeah, what do they call it, club, right? And in his club, right now, I don't know any player. I mean, this is me also still acknowledging, because he can't afford to now change all his life because he married someone. It's not like that.
Yeah, so on that question, I think first of all, before we get into the marriage, at the point of dating, number one things, you have to be self-aware.
Self-aware.
Yeah, you have to be self-aware. Then there's also what we call dual awareness. What do I mean by this? I'm aware of myself. Then I also have an understanding of who my partner is.
Nice.
So I'm able to, because if I know myself, I know what my deal breaker is. But most times people don't really know themselves.
Actually, that's true.
So that's where the
challenge comes. Yeah.
So I know. I talked about the place of knowledge.
Knowledge, yes.
And let me just state this clearly. Our topic of discussion is beyond beauty.
Beyond love.
what will keep your marriage is not love, right?
Of
You've
course.
stated that beyond,
Beyond,
it's
yes.
actually understanding,
Understanding.
knowledge and understanding. It is in the place of knowledge. You've studied, for me, I've studied my wife. I know who she is. She said there are some things that cannot change about me. She could say that because she knows that those things are not deal breaker for her.
For her.
If they are, I have to change.
You have to change, actually.
So
That's true.
that place of adapting, tolerating. Do you get?
Yes.
There are some basic things that my wife does that I don't. Okay, let me give you an instance. My wife will always fight me because of washing in the night. I don't. Why should I touch it?
Is it right?
And she sees that as something major.
Major. Okay. Like what you said the other time.
But
why won't you brush? You have to brush twice a day. That's what they told us in the dental class.
For me, if I'm not going out, for instance,
I
might not take my bath. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there's some.
Even for the older, you not take your bath. You not take your bath in the morning.
It's when I'm about going
out. Okay.
Do you get?
Okay.
Let me state that. Like that's when.
But you have to wake
why
up
should
and have your birth.
So I'm saying all this.
Now I'm back.
You have no choice. But some people actually see that as a big deal.
Yeah, we are talking about change, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, I know, let me just say this. I know if my wife doesn't like me when I kiss without brushing my mouth.
Okay.
So if I want to kiss right now,
you have to go and brush your mouth.
Do you get?
Oh my god. No, like you have to brush and then person want to kiss. So
like I know,
like
she will want
The morning in the night, because I mean,
do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like I know that this is what my wife wants. So why wouldn't I go and
why would you go and brush your
Sometimes I take my bed. Do you get? I'm just saying something. I know myself.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the marriage, you change.
Yeah.
That sometimes you adapt. So it is. I'm talking about deal breakers. So by the time you know what are the deal breakers for you, you're able to communicate it. Right?
Yeah.
So when you communicate it, in fact, before you get into the marriage, there are some things that are clear. If I don't know her, I can't marry her.
Of course.
That first knowledge. You know, I mentioned when you get into the marriage, you keep learning.
Keep learning. Yes.
But there are some things I've seen that, oh, this is this person. And by the time we get into the marriage, you now see, oh, this is the person. So you keep learning. Adjusting.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Okay, to what extent should the partner adapt? Yeah, as long as you keep your marriage close on.
Actually, he now brushes in the night too. He has changed. His life has been changed.
She doesn't like to iron clothes.
Okay.
And I've not changed. That one is art. So that one.
And me, I'm this kind of person that
it must be.
You know that.
So
For me. Well.
And I'll do that for her.
Okay.
You get? So there are some things that they are meant for. You have to, as long as you keep the marriage, because this is the person I will live the rest of my life.
Like together forever, to death.
So if it costs me changing some things, which is I can do that, like it's not life threatening.
As long as the change is not affecting you.
So why won't I change? I think that's it.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. No.
Wow. Like I really got a lot from what you just said now. Like the change when you are in a relationship, you have to adapt to change. Like they will say, change is really constant in life. And when you are open to change, life becomes better.
Yeah,
and now we're talking about relationship. When you're open to change, your relationship keep blossoming, your family life, like you just see that things just become seamless. And some people will say, why will I change because I married so and so person? You are not changing because you married that person. You are changing because of your own self, to make life easy for the both of you. Because if life is not easy for you,
just be angry.
Exactly. Like everything will just be pissing you off. Like little things will turn you off. And when it comes to relationship life, love, romance, and what have you, you have to, like what they've said, you have to be intentional. You have to communicate. The intimacy has to be there. You have to be open. You have to be able to adapt to change. And from all what they've said, you can say that you cannot do life without Christ. You cannot do this relationship thing without Christ. Because in their opening, Peter said that salvation, because without that salvation, there's no how you want to tolerate someone. Even your siblings, you still fight with your siblings. Not to talk of someone that, when did you meet the person? You married the person. People, your siblings, your family members that you have been together right from when they gave birth to you all your life, you still fight with them. But because of that salvation that we have, because Christ is in us, we'll now start seeing our spouse and start loving them with Christ's love, just like she said. If you don't love with Christ's love, there's no how relationship will not work. That's why we see out there, we see people divorce, they separate, and you wonder, this relationship that is blossoming, what happened? And like Peter said, we should not dwell on the fact that the spark will fade. When you don't have that intimacy, or the communication, the adaptability, that's when you start thinking that, oh, this thing will fade. But at the initial states, don't even think of the negative part. Always think positivity. Always think of the fact that, how can I make this relationship better? How can I do things? As long as I am happy, this person should be happy. You cannot say, oh, I am happy, that the other person's countenance or the person's feeling does not matter. Like Bukola said, it is you and I, like your partner and yourself against the world. So you don't have to start thinking, what would this person say? It's just between the both of you. In everything, your financial aspects, your social life, everything you have to do. And some people out there might be thinking that, like she mentioned that she's an extroverted person and Peter is an introverted person. And you'll be thinking that, how will I be able to blend? There are ways you can blend, just like what they've said. You can tolerate each other. You can come to a point of compromise and you change for the betterment of the both of you. And it's not because it is because of that person I am changing. You are changing because of yourself. Since both of you have come together to become one, you are changing because of yourself, and you yourself is that other person. I hope you understand, and we are learning a lot from, we've learned a lot from all what has been said here. So thank you very much for listening to us and for learning from our wonderful and incredible couples. Thank you very much for honoring this invitation. I'm really grateful for having you on this show. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
And don't forget to subscribe to Emmy's vlog. Like, share, and subscribe. Comment, let me know your thoughts about what they've said. Also, your interests, your questions. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.